Hi folks, Canadian Prepper here. Driving home, I figured I'd do a video on a topic I think is kind of unique, perhaps. Perhaps it's been discussed, perhaps not in any depth. But I wanted to ask you guys what how you feel about first responders bugging out. I hate to bring up the movie Dawn of the Dead again, but of course it is one of the best movies ever made. The original, of course. And there's in the beginning there, right when the outbreak is happening, there's the cops in the building. This is only in the extended version, by the way. The cops are like things are starting to get pretty bad, and cops are like, there's a lot of people running out. We could run. We could try to run. And it makes me wonder, just how loyal a lot of these police are going to be to their masters. And I do say masters. How loyal these nurses are going to be, and these emergency medical technicians are going to be, and these firefighters. Even these rent-a-cop security guards, no offense to rent-a-cops, these emergency services, just how, because they're going to be on the front lines, they're going to be the ones who, perhaps they won't get the news first, and perhaps a lot of them aren't in the know. Perhaps they're so wrapped up in their little world of emergency services, which, I'm not dissing it. They do a hard job. They have a hard job, and it's not easy what they do. However, I'm not going to get too much into my opinions of the popo, but they're pretty bound up and wound up in that, and but I think there's going to be a lot of cops bugging out, and I think that the ones who do bug out, they're probably going to be the bad ones. Which is not to say, you can only bug out if you're a bad cop. I mean, if you catch wind that shit has totally hit the fan, why stick around for the chaos, for the darkest part of the night? Why stick around for that? And for what? Just to, hold off the masses for a few hours longer, but I do think that there's going to be a lot of these crooked cops nowadays are going to be the ones who are bugging out, and they're going to bug out hard, and they're probably going to bring a lot of gear with them, a lot of heavy equipment, if you know what I mean. They have access to that kind of thing. And I highly doubt an AWOL cop is going to be top priority. In addition to the EMTs and the paramedics, I can't see them, if they got caught wind of some massive epidemic, there's going to be those loyal ones who stick it out and, to serve and protect, and I guess that's the cops line, but, there's going to be those medical people who decide to tough it out and decide to do their job, and if they die, they die. Perhaps that's a part of the oath that they take. I don't know, but there's going to be a lot of people bugging out, and I don't necessarily blame them, but I just wonder what their course of action is going to be. That's what I think. Anyways, maybe you guys have a different idea about this. Firefighters, security guards, even border agents, people in these defensive positions, people which we rely on for security, may be the first ones to be notified that the S has hit the F. And I just wonder how they're going to react. Do you steal the ambulance? Do you steal the Do you ditch the cop car and take the gear? Do you ditch the suit, ditch the uniform? Would the uniform be an asset or a hindrance? I mean, obviously, for a while, the uniforms are going to be valuable. So long as people think that the grid is up, there's going to be a lot of imposters pretending to be cops. People pretending to be military, perhaps, in order to hijack people. I seen that on one of those doomsday documentaries. It's one of the possible things to look out for. And that's actually, not to be evil-minded, but that's actually a damn good idea, because there's going to be a lot of people who still believe that, there's some level of order, or at least want to believe. And if you see a guy in a uniform with guns, and if you've never been in with any of these talks or these circles, then chances are you might fall for that. But they have access to a lot of gear. They have access to the entire city, the cops anyways. They know, they have intel. And I know a lot of people who work in security, who work in police and aspiring police. I shouldn't say a lot, but I know enough, to get a sense of what they're all about. And I don't know, maybe it just comes with the territory to be tactically minded, but I'm quite certain that the majority of these people are prepping. Because they see firsthand every day crisis, as much as they've been desensitized to it and become conditioned to it, they must realize that when shit hits the fan, if it's this bad without it, then just imagine without a rule of law in place. And if you think that some of these wayward cops are above the law now, just imagine when there is no law to be above. I think they're going to be far worse than a lot of these petty thugs who don't have access to the same kind of utensils as they do. And the paramedics, well, perhaps they're, I have a bit more faith in them. I think a lot of them are going to stick it out, because you don't take that kind of job. Most paramedics could have been cops. So, I mean, if you look at them, most paramedics I see, they're in good shape, they're young, they could have been cops if they wanted to, but they chose that line of work because they wanted to actually help people. They didn't want to hold a gun and have power over people. Which is not to say all cops want to do that, but, there's a significant majority. And there's also AWOL military, of course, that you have to consider, and they might have access to all types of heavy-duty stuff, heavy-duty equipment. And the more militarized the police are now, the more stuff they have access to. Mind you, I'm quite certain a lot of these police vehicles and military vehicles have some, and I don't know, this is right out of my ass, but I'm sure they have some sort of OnStar deactivation thing on their vehicles so that they could just deactivate it, so they might not bug out like that. But yeah, I just think it's going to be interesting to see how the breakdown of the frontline first responders, how that's going to go. Now, you could say, well, look at 9/11. It didn't happen in 9/11, and there was a lot of people who, and this is not to talk about whether or not I believe it was an inside job or not, save that for another day. But in the way, just talking about how the people reacted, there was a lot of heroism there. There was a lot of people who ran into those buildings, and perhaps some of them knew that shit was going to hit the fan, and they went anyways. I think there will be a lot of brave cops, but there's also going to be a lot of cowards coming out of the woodwork, and I think these people are going to be forces to be reckoned with. Because really, a bad cop is a criminal, and they're a far worse kind of criminal than just any old normal criminal, because they're masquerading as a good guy. And just think about all the dirty cops with their gang affiliations, And there's cops like that in every town. There's cops like that in every town, man. I mean, I'm not going to get into what I've seen, but I know what I've seen, and I've heard, I've heard things, let's put it that way, from credible sources. And it's not even, it's something that's, it's inherently valid. It's, you don't even need proof. It's just, you look at the way society functions, and there's conspiratorial stuff going on in the background. There's a reason why that drug house never shuts down. They want it there, but it's getting a little off topic. So what do you guys think about this issue with AWOL cops, AWOL EMS? Do you think it's going to be a problem? Let me know what you think. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. If you liked the video, by all means share. Thanks for watching. Canadian Prepper out.